Hey, what's up guys? It's your girl Betzing and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I'm going to be telling you about the time that I almost died. Now I know that sounds super dramatic and believe me, it was. This moment of my life, this experience was so life-changing and intense and scary, but it really was a catalyst for amazing things to come. So I really do believe that like when bad moments or you know, lows of life happen, that good things happen after it. So I just want to talk about my experience and what happened to me and share my story. Alright, so I was a freshman in college. I had been in my first semester. I was doing really well in school. I had like a 4.0 so far. Was definitely like going to some parties and stuff. I wasn't like crazy or anything, but I was living and I got so sick out of nowhere. I just got super sick, and for about like a month and a half I just could not get better. I was so tired. I felt like I had strep. I went to go get tested at Michigan State University where I was going to school for strep or for mono, and it came back negative, so they didn't think I had it, but I knew I did because I was so exhausted and just so sick and couldn't even get from my, basically all I did was go to class, and it was a struggle just to get from my dorm to class. And so I remember coming back home to Lower Michigan where I'm from and going to the doctor there. They realized that I do have mono, I do have strep, I have tonsillitis, I have all that stuff, and that my immune system was super run down. Now, I was on a lot of medicines to try to get rid of this and nothing was working, couldn't shake it. So I just thought, okay, I just gotta get better, it's gonna take some time. And then things really changed. I just remember like my neck being huge, and this is leading right up to when I got it. So one morning I woke up and I had the worst headache I've ever had. It was excruciating pain. It was throbbing, pounding, and I had an economics exam. It was the last test, and I really wanted to get an A. I wanted to get a 4.0 GPA, so I was like, oh no, like hopefully I can, you know, still pull this off. And I remember bike riding from my dorm all the way across campus to Brody, and I thought I was gonna pass out the whole way there. I just like didn't think I was gonna make it there. And when I got there, I was like, okay, you just gotta get through this exam. That's all you gotta do, Biz. And I got through the exam barely. It took me so long. I was the last person to finish, and I just remember thinking I was gonna fail the whole time. And when I got like it over with, I didn't even care anymore. I was just like in so much agony. And so I got home back to my dorm, and later that day my mom was supposed to pick me up to go for my very first ever modeling job in Florida. And I thought at the time that this was like my one and only opportunity, so I didn't care that I was sick. I was just still gonna go because it was my dream and I just really wanted to do it. So I told my mom though when she got there that I was in so much pain, and she was like, okay, well, like, are you sure we should go? And I was like, no, I'm not sure, but I really don't want to like miss out on this opportunity. Anyways, I was in so much pain that I started like tears were just flooding down my eyes, and I have a very high pain tolerance, so I think that that should have been like a really big red flag. And on the way to the airport, like we just continued to go, but I remember we got in a little argument. She's like, she kind of thought I was being a baby or something, and I was just saying like how much pain I was in. But we called the doctor, and the doctor gave us more medication, and they're like, this is so weird, like how her head's hurting so much, but they gave us a ton of medicine. So I started taking just tons of medicine because I was gonna go to Florida. So anyways, I felt a little bit better after the medicine. So I boarded the plane, and then when we got on the plane, all of a sudden, like things got so much worse. I was sitting there, and all of a sudden, I couldn't turn my neck. So I couldn't even look sideways. My neck was so stiff. It was just like I could not move it at all. And then all of a sudden, like every time I'm seeing a light, I want to scream. It hurts. It's like torturous. Any type of light, like a phone light, the light on top of the airport. I remember getting like really like weird, like my whole body was aching, but not just my body, my head was now protruding. So basically meningitis is like an infection and it causes your brain lobes to swell. My lobes were so swollen that like my head started like protruding, like it was like getting deformed, and it was like noticeably like puffed out, and just like my whole face was swollen, and I couldn't turn my neck, like as I said, and now I'm in so much pain that I just want to scream. Like I cannot, but I was in that much pain that I couldn't even like go turn to my mom, who was like 4 seats over. She's in a different aisle, and I couldn't even like get to her to like tell her how much pain I was in. But I remember like the people next to me, they noticed that I'm sitting there and tears are just pouring down my eyes, and they're like, "Dear, are you okay?" And I was like, "Something's wrong with me. My head hurts so bad." And they turned to my mom and they're like, "You need to take her to the hospital right away." And on the plane ride, I literally was thinking like, I need to tell somebody to stop the plane. But I didn't want to do that because I'm just the type of person that I don't like to be an inconvenience or a bother. I just was like, let's just get there, let's just go. And honestly, like, I should have probably had them try to find a way to get me off the plane, because I could have died on the plane, especially at that elevation, the pressure on your brain when you're going through meningitis where it's bad enough. You know, we made it though. It was absolute torture, agony. When I get off the plane, when I go to stand up, I can't stand. I literally could not walk, and so I'm leaning on my mom, and every time I try to take a step, it's just like agony. Like it hurt so bad, and so she basically had to help carry me off the plane. And then when we got there, we were greeted by our friend Poppy, which means grandpa in German. He picked us up because we were staying at his place in Florida. And we arrived at like midnight, so I didn't want to make him take me to the hospital or anything like that. He's elderly, so I just wanted to, you know, like, let's just go home and then I'll sleep it off and I'm sure everything will be fine. And I went home to sleep it off, and I just remember like feeling so nauseous, but I was like, I just need to sleep, I just need to sleep. And so I went to sleep, and I remember waking up and like two or 3 hours later, and my back was killing. It felt like someone just like cut my back in half or something like that, because it just felt so much pain. And I woke up and I ran to the bathroom and I started vomiting all over the bathroom. Not to be gross, but it's gross. And as I was throwing up, all of a sudden I lost my sight and everything was black and I didn't see anything. And so that obviously is super scary. And at this point I knew something was seriously, utterly wrong with me. And so I started screaming for my mom. "Mom, wake up, Mom, we gotta go to the hospital. I'm blind, I can't see. I'm dying, Mom, I'm dying." And I just remember like trying not to freak out, but like I knew in that moment that like I was like on my way to like to die basically, because I just, it's really hard to describe, but there was like a threshold of pain that I had passed, and it just felt so like nothing I could ever describe to you. And so she threw me in the car, and I still can't see at this point, but then my vision started to go back and forth, and I remember like just thinking, don't pass out, don't go unconscious right now, don't, like, you gotta fight. And all of a sudden like this peace came over me, and I just kind of accepted that if I die, I'm gonna die. And I was just like, okay, God, I trust you, whatever your plan is for me. Like, and I just remember like feeling like, wow, that's so bizarre that I'm so peaceful about this. And meanwhile, my mom's sitting in the passenger seat, and she's freaking out. She's like totally freaking out, like, I can't believe you're gonna, or she thought I was gonna die, and she was just freaking out, crying, like praying for me. And I just remember fighting for my life. It was the choice. It was like, you have to choose right now to fight. And so we got to the hospital, and I was like, this is a miracle that I even made it to the hospital. We get there, they think I'm having a brain aneurysm, so they throw me in a CAT scan. They realize it's not a brain aneurysm. They bend me over right there in the room, and they basically do a lumbar puncture or a spinal tap, which is where they take like a big needle like this, and they put it in your spinal cord, and they bend you over between your vertebrae and draw the spinal fluid, and your white blood your white blood cell like T count or whatever. So it was insanely high. At that moment, they decided that I had meningitis, but they didn't know if it was bacterial or viral. So they sent me, basically they put me in the neurology floor, and they had to come in with full suits. Their head to toe was just covered. Like no part of them was visible because they thought that I could have bacterial meningitis. They weren't sure if it was viral or bacterial. And they determined that it was viral in the beginning, but then it ended up being bacterial. And so it was just kind of like a back and forth between the infectious disease and the neurologist, and they just kept arguing over it. One wasn't very adamant that it was bacterial, the other one said it was viral, and the other doctor like switched the medicine when I was on bacterial because he insisted it was viral, and that actually made things a little worse for me because it extended my period of recovery. And I had to get another lumbar puncture, and that like really messed up my back for like, basically after you get it you have to lay down. But I remember like once I got the bacterial medicine I was feeling a lot better, but I was allergic to it, so I had rashes. And that whole 7 days in the hospital or something like that, I think it was a week, I didn't eat at all. I could not hold any food down. I was so nauseous, I was vomiting everywhere. And I was in so much pain that they were giving me like 8 milligrams of morphine every 2.5 hours, which is like insane for someone my size. And basically it just made my body like so numb, and it felt so good to my body because it just numbed me up, and it made me like sleep a lot. So I slept pretty much most of the time, and I never made my modeling thing, which, you know, everything happens for a reason, so it's okay. I remember being in the hospital and realizing like that life is so short and things can change like that, like literally in one day, within 24 hours. Like I could have died. So many people die from bacterial meningitis, or they lose limbs, they have to get their arms and their hands and feet cut off, or their organs fail. And the doctors even said, they're like, it's a total miracle that like you don't have any damage. And they said like they think a lot of this is because I had been like almost overtaking medicine leading up to this for so long, because nothing was working to heal me. And so that basically like helped slow down the meningitis. You know, it helped sustain me through the airplane ride. And so it's just so crazy like to think of how fast life can change. And I remember they had to put like a wire in my arm, and it went through my vein into my heart, and then I had to take medicine 2 times a day. When I returned to college, I had a big pump on my arm, and I had medicine balls that I would have, it took an hour each time, and I would have to wake up in the middle of the night and then once during class, but I would have to like go to class with a big pump on my arm, and it was really hard to catch up in school, but that's fine. I was just so happy to be alive. But when I got out of the hospital, I remember like seeing the ocean and feeling the warm wind on my face, and I was still in so much pain, but I just felt so much grace and like love from God. And I just like remember that moment with my mom, and just feeling like everything is gonna be okay, and like that God had me and God had plans for me. And I just remember like that was the moment too that I was like, I can't keep doing what I'm doing right now. I need to do what is my calling and what is my dream and what God put inside of me. And so I did continue school for 1 more year, but the next year I really decided that I had to go after acting and modeling, because that's what my calling is. I can't live a life that isn't authentic to me, and it has to be what I want to do. And it's not about success to other people, but it's about success to yourself and finding happiness and joy and being alive. So that's my story with almost dying. It's crazy and just super wild, and just so crazy too. Even like when I stopped the morphine, I was having withdrawals, and and I remember like going back to Michigan State and like having to bike to my classes with the pump on my arm and feeling like so lightheaded and having to recover, and to now be at that point where I like know that like I'm fine. But yeah, it was just scary too for a long time. Every time I got a headache, I got scared that like it was gonna come back or something like that. And still, honestly, sometimes when I do get a bad headache, I do get afraid. But I just really trust God. Like, I know that God has plans for me. That's why I'm still alive, and that's why I went like so unaffected. And it's just cool. Like, I'm really grateful for this experience and happy that I had such a catalyst, because it really changed the trajectory of my life. So that's my story, and I hope you enjoyed. And if you did, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and tap that notification bell. Do it. So if you have any questions, let me know and comment down below. Also follow me on Instagram at Betzing. And guys, I love you so much, and I will see you soon for another video, probably a prank, because you guys love those and I love filming them. So I'll see you guys soon. Bye.